What if the most expensive green gemstone isn't the one worth buying? Some green gems sell for just a few dollars. Others have sold for millions. Yet appearance alone tells you almost nothing about their true value. Some of the rarest gemstones on Earth are surprisingly affordable. Others are famous mainly because of history, marketing, or a single mine. And one green gemstone became so extraordinary that collectors have spent centuries trying to find another like it. In this countdown, you'll discover 25 remarkable green gemstones ranked by rarity, beauty, collector demand, geological significance, and long-term value, while learning how experts avoid the costly mistakes that trap so many buyers. Let's begin with number 25. Number 25, green aventurine. At first glance, green aventurine seems to promise everything buyers hope for. It has a pleasant green color, a soft natural sparkle, and a price that feels almost too good to question. That combination has made it one of the most widely sold green gemstones in the world, and also one of the easiest to misunderstand. The appeal comes from tiny mineral inclusions, most commonly fuscite, that create a shimmering effect known as aventurescence. Under the right light, the stone can appear lively and attractive, especially in polished cabochons. For many people entering the world of gemstones, it looks remarkably similar to far more expensive green gems. That resemblance is exactly where problems begin. Green aventurine is sometimes marketed in ways that encourage unrealistic comparisons with emerald or jade, even though it belongs to an entirely different category of gemstone. The stone itself is not the problem. Expectations are. Its affordability is not the result of poor quality, but of abundant natural supply. Large deposits exist in several countries, making attractive material relatively easy to obtain. Paying a fair price for green aventurine can be an excellent decision. Paying a premium simply because it resembles a more famous gemstone rarely is. Before buying, compare it only with other green aventurine of similar quality, not with emeralds or jade. Judge the richness of the color, the evenness of the shimmer, and the craftsmanship of the cut. As an entry-level gemstone, it delivers honest value, but the next stone proves that spending slightly more can dramatically change what a green gemstone offers in rarity, durability, and long-term appeal. Number 24, green agate. Few green gemstones are sold in greater numbers than green agate. It appears in jewelry stores, souvenir markets, online marketplaces, and gemstone collections around the world. Its smooth green color and affordable price make it an easy purchase, but also one of the easiest gemstones to misunderstand. Unlike emerald or Tsavorite, natural green agate with a rich, even color is relatively uncommon. Much of the green agate available today achieves its vibrant appearance through dyeing or other color enhancement processes. These treatments are widely accepted when properly disclosed, yet many buyers never realize they are purchasing an enhanced stone rather than one colored entirely by nature. That distinction matters because the price should reflect it. A beautiful dyed green agate can still offer excellent value, but it should never command the premium of a naturally colored gemstone simply because it shares a similar shade of green. Before making a purchase, ask one simple question. Is the color natural or enhanced? A trustworthy seller should answer clearly without hesitation. Also examine whether the color appears unnaturally uniform, especially around fractures or drilled holes, where dye may concentrate. For decorative jewelry, green agate remains an attractive and budget-friendly choice with good durability for everyday wear. The mistake isn't buying green agate. The mistake is paying for a rarity it doesn't claim to be. The next gemstone, however, doesn't rely on treatments or marketing to stand out. Its value comes from a geological story written over millions of years, making it one of the most intriguing green stones on this list. Number 23, Bloodstone. For centuries, warriors, pilgrims, and collectors carried bloodstone for reasons that had nothing to do with beauty. Long before gem laboratories and auction houses existed, this dark green stone was believed to symbolize courage, protection, and endurance. Those legends helped build its reputation, but they are not what determines its value today. Unlike many green gemstones that compete through brilliance or transparency, bloodstone earns attention through contrast. A rich green background scattered with natural red inclusions creates a pattern that is impossible to duplicate exactly. No two pieces are ever truly alike, making individuality one of its greatest strengths rather than perfect clarity. That uniqueness also creates a common buying mistake. Many shoppers assume that dramatic red markings automatically make a specimen more valuable. In reality, experienced collectors look for balance. An attractive bloodstone combines a deep, even green body color with naturally distributed red inclusions instead of large distracting patches that overwhelm the stone. When evaluating bloodstone, ignore the stories first and examine the material itself. Check the richness of the green, the polish, the natural appearance of the inclusions, and whether the overall pattern feels harmonious instead of random. The quality of the stone should always justify the price, not the legend attached to it. Bloodstone remains one of the few historic gemstones that can still deliver genuine character without demanding an extraordinary budget. Yet the next gemstone demonstrates a completely different challenge, where modern marketing has become far more influential than ancient tradition. Number 22. Serpentine. Walk through almost any gemstone market, and one pattern quickly emerges. Tables filled with smooth green carvings, polished cabochons, and pendants are often surrounded by signs mentioning the word jade. Yet a surprising number of those pieces are actually serpentine, a completely different mineral with a very different market value. The resemblance is understandable. Fine serpentine can display soft apple green to olive green colors, a silky luster, and enough translucency to resemble certain lower-grade jade carvings from a distance. That visual similarity has made it a favorite material for artisans for centuries, allowing intricate sculptures to be carved at a fraction of the cost of genuine jadeite. Unfortunately, appearance is exactly where buyers can lose money. Serpentine is abundant, easier to carve, and significantly more common than high-quality jade. Its lower price reflects geology rather than inferior beauty. The problem begins when vague trade names such as new jade encourage shoppers to associate it with the prestige and scarcity of true jade. A simple buying habit can prevent that mistake. Instead of asking whether the piece is jade, ask for the exact mineral species. Then compare its price with verified serpentine, not with jadeite or nephrite. If the seller cannot clearly identify the material, the asking price deserves far greater scrutiny than the gemstone itself. Viewed honestly, serpentine offers remarkable decorative value without demanding a luxury budget. The next gemstone creates the opposite challenge, not because buyers mistake its identity, but because its rarity often convinces them to pay far beyond what the quality actually deserves. Number 21. Chrome diopside. A small price tag can be surprisingly dangerous. When buyers discover a gemstone with a vivid emerald-like green selling for only a fraction of the cost, the first reaction is often excitement rather than caution. Chrome diopside has built its reputation on exactly that contrast. Its color is genuinely impressive. Chromium gives the finest specimens a rich, saturated green that can rival gemstones costing many times more. Under natural daylight, well-cut stones display remarkable freshness and depth, making them one of the most visually striking bargains in the green gemstone market. The catch appears as size increases. Unlike many other gems, chrome diopside absorbs light very efficiently. As stones become larger, they often grow noticeably darker, sometimes losing the vibrant green that made them attractive in the first place. Buyers who focus only on carat weight frequently end up paying more for a gemstone that actually looks less beautiful. That optical behavior explains much of its pricing. Fine, smaller stones remain highly desirable because they preserve brightness, while large, clean specimens are uncommon, but not every large specimen deserves a premium simply because it is rare. Beauty should always outweigh size. Before making a purchase, view the gemstone against both a white and a dark background under neutral daylight. If the center appears almost black instead of green, the extra weight may be reducing rather than increasing its value. Chrome diopside proves that affordability does not always mean compromise. The next gemstone presents a completely different lesson, where craftsmanship and marketing can influence the final price more than geology itself. Number 20. Vesuvianite. Auction catalogs rarely place Vesuvianite on their front covers, and luxury brands almost never build entire collections around it. Yet that quiet absence from the spotlight is precisely what makes this gemstone worth examining before spending money elsewhere. Formed where intense heat and pressure transformed limestone near intrusive magma, Vesuvianite is the product of an extraordinary geological environment. Fine crystals display fresh olive green to rich bottle green hues, often with impressive transparency that surprises buyers encountering the gem for the first time. Its beauty is genuine, but its market behaves very differently from more famous green gemstones. The biggest misunderstanding comes from rarity. High-quality transparent Vesuvianite is unquestionably uncommon, leading many buyers to assume every clean specimen should command a significant premium. The market tells a different story. Demand remains relatively limited because the gemstone lacks broad consumer recognition, meaning geological rarity does not always translate into high resale value. That distinction creates an opportunity for informed buyers. Instead of paying for a famous name, attention can remain focused on measurable quality, transparency, color consistency, brilliance, and precision cutting. Those characteristics contribute far more to long-term satisfaction than the assumption that rarity alone guarantees future appreciation. Before making a purchase, compare Vesuvianite directly with gemstones in the same price range rather than with emeralds or Tsavorites. The question isn't whether it is rarer, it often is. The better question is whether its appearance justifies the price being asked. Vesuvianite rewards buyers who value geology over prestige. The next gemstone demonstrates how a far more recognizable name can sometimes overshadow the qualities that truly deserve attention. Number 19. Prehnite. Not every expensive mistake begins with paying too much. Sometimes it begins with expecting a gemstone to be something it was never meant to be. Prehnite has quietly disappointed many buyers, not because the stone lacks beauty, but because it is often purchased for the wrong reasons. Its appearance is unlike the bold greens that dominate jewelry displays. Fine prehnite carries a soft, almost luminous glow, ranging from pale yellowish green to fresh spring green. Many specimens seem to hold light beneath the surface rather than reflecting it sharply, creating a calm, almost ethereal character that few green gemstones can match. That subtle beauty can easily be overlooked by shoppers chasing maximum saturation or dramatic brilliance. Ironically, those same buyers may later pay a premium for stones advertised as rare simply because they mistake understated elegance for lower quality. In reality, the finest prehnite is valued for translucency, even color, and a clean, glowing appearance, not for intense darkness or vivid sparkle. Its market price remains relatively approachable because commercial deposits exist in several regions, and demand is driven more by knowledgeable collectors than by luxury fashion houses. That combination keeps pricing surprisingly stable, allowing exceptional specimens to remain within reach. Before choosing prehnite, step away from display lighting and examine it under soft natural daylight. The finest stones reveal a gentle inner glow instead of relying on bright reflections to create impact. If that glow disappears, so does much of the stone's appeal. Prehnite reminds buyers that lasting beauty is not always the loudest beauty. The next gemstone takes an entirely different path, where exceptional color immediately captures attention, but judging its true value requires looking far beyond first impressions. Number 18. Green fluorite. Collectors often remember the moment they first held a flawless piece of green fluorite. It almost doesn't look real. Crystal clear, delicately green, and glowing as though light is trapped inside, it has a purity that immediately captures attention. That first impression has persuaded many buyers they have discovered an overlooked bargain. The attraction is easy to understand. Few green minerals develop such exceptional transparency while preserving soft, refreshing color. Large crystals are also more common than in many precious gemstones, allowing impressive display pieces that would be prohibitively expensive in emerald or Tsavorite. The difficulty begins when beauty is mistaken for durability. Fluorite is considerably softer than many gemstones used in everyday jewelry, making it vulnerable to scratches and accidental damage. A flawless crystal may survive millions of years underground yet lose its pristine appearance surprisingly quickly when worn in a ring or bracelet. That physical limitation explains why prices remain relatively modest, despite outstanding visual appeal. The market values green fluorite primarily as a collector's mineral and display gemstone rather than a premium jewelry stone. Paying extra for exceptional clarity makes sense only if the intended purpose matches the material's strengths. Before purchasing, decide where the gemstone will spend most of its life. A display cabinet, mineral collection, or carefully worn pendant suits fluorite far better than jewelry exposed to daily impact. Choosing the right use is often more important than choosing the highest grade. Green fluorite demonstrates that value depends not only on what a gemstone is, but on how it will be enjoyed. The next green gemstone introduces a different challenge altogether, one where durability is no longer the concern, but authenticity becomes the real test. Number 17. Prasiolite. Sometimes the most expensive word on a price tag isn't the gemstone's name, it's the word natural. Few green gemstones illustrate that better than Prasiolite, a variety of quartz whose market value is shaped as much by disclosure as by appearance. With its delicate mint green color and remarkable clarity, Prasiolite offers a clean, elegant look that fits modern jewelry exceptionally well. Unlike darker green gemstones, it reflects light with a fresh, airy character that many buyers find both sophisticated and easy to wear. At a glance, it appears to be an outstanding value. The hidden complication lies beneath its color. Naturally green quartz is extraordinarily uncommon. Most Prasiolite available today begins as pale amethyst or yellow quartz that acquires its green color through carefully controlled heat treatment. The process is stable and widely accepted within the gem trade, but only when it is honestly disclosed. That distinction explains its price. Buyers are not paying for extreme geological rarity. They are purchasing an attractive gemstone produced from abundant quartz, using a treatment that has become standard in the industry. A premium based solely on claims of exceptional natural rarity is rarely justified without strong laboratory evidence. Before buying, ask a question many shoppers never think to ask. Was this color formed by nature or by treatment? The answer should influence expectations far more than the stone's appearance alone. Prasiolite proves that transparency from the seller can be just as valuable as transparency inside the gemstone. The next entry shifts the conversation from treatment to scarcity, where genuine rarity exists, but doesn't always translate into genuine value. Number 16. Green spinel. Collectors often discover green spinel by accident rather than intention. It usually isn't the gemstone people walk into a jewelry store asking for. Instead, it appears quietly in a display case, surrounded by more famous names, waiting for someone curious enough to look beyond the labels. That lack of recognition hides a remarkable gemstone. Fine green spinel offers crisp brilliance, excellent durability, and a naturally clean appearance that rivals many better-known green gems. Unlike stones that depend heavily on treatments to enhance their beauty, spinel is prized because its color and clarity are typically the result of nature itself. Yet this is exactly where expectations can become expensive. Buyers frequently assume that because green spinel is relatively uncommon, its price must inevitably rise in the future. Geological rarity, however, is only one part of the equation. Market demand, collector interest, auction history, and consumer awareness all influence long-term value just as much as limited supply. That balance explains why green spinel can remain surprisingly affordable despite its quality. The market simply hasn't assigned it the prestige premium enjoyed by emerald or sapphire. For many buyers, that creates an opportunity, but it should never be mistaken for a guaranteed investment. Before paying a premium, compare green spinel with other gemstones in the same budget based on beauty, durability, and intended use, not on predictions about future prices. A gemstone should earn its value in the present before expectations about tomorrow enter the conversation. Green spinel rewards buyers who appreciate quality over reputation. The next gemstone demonstrates what happens when genuine rarity becomes far easier to market than to properly understand. Number 15. Sit. Most gemstone purchases begin with a familiar question. How much is this worth? Sit forces a more interesting one. What exactly am I looking at? Unlike most gemstones, Sit isn't a single mineral. It is a complex rock composed primarily of jadeite, cosmochlore, albite, and several other minerals fused together through intense geological processes in northern Myanmar. That unusual composition creates dramatic patterns of vivid emerald green, deep forest green, black veins, and bright mottled textures that can never be perfectly duplicated. Those striking colors have also created confusion. Many buyers mistake moss sit for low-grade jade, while others assume it is an exceptionally rare variety of jadeite worth paying almost any price for. Neither assumption is correct. Although it shares geological connections with jadeite deposits, moss sit belongs in its own category with its own market and pricing. Its value depends far less on mineral rarity than on the harmony of its natural patterns, color intensity, polish, and overall visual impact. A beautifully balanced specimen will often deserve more attention than a technically rarer piece with uneven coloration or distracting fractures. Before buying, ask the seller to identify the material precisely instead of accepting the simple label, jade. Understanding the difference between jadeite, nephrite, and moss sit immediately provides a more realistic expectation of value and helps prevent paying for a name rather than the material itself. Moss sit rewards knowledge more than reputation. The next gemstone illustrates another costly misunderstanding, one where exceptional beauty is real, but the market often exaggerates what that beauty is actually worth. Number 14. Chrysoprase. A gemstone doesn't have to sparkle to become expensive. Sometimes, the most valuable green gems achieve the opposite effect, replacing brilliant flashes with a smooth, almost glowing color that feels remarkably alive. Chrysoprase is one of the finest examples. Its fresh apple green hue comes from traces of nickel rather than chromium or vanadium, giving it a color unlike emerald, jade, or Tsavorite. In the best material, the green appears evenly distributed throughout the stone, with a soft translucency that almost seems to radiate from within. That unique appearance has made chrysoprase a favorite of designers for centuries. The challenge begins when color alone becomes a selling point. Because the finest chrysoprase commands strong prices, lower quality material is often dyed or stabilized to imitate richer color. At first glance, the difference can be subtle, but treated stones frequently display unnaturally uniform color or concentrated dye along tiny fractures in porous areas. The market rewards untreated chrysoprase because attractive, natural material with consistent color is genuinely limited. Buyers are paying for geological scarcity, not simply for the presence of a green hue. Once treatments enter the picture, that scarcity, and much of the premium, quickly disappears. Before making a decision, rotate the stone slowly under diffused daylight instead of bright jewelry lighting. Natural chrysoprase should reveal gentle variations in depth, rather than a perfectly flat, artificial-looking green. A little natural inconsistency is often a reassuring sign. Chrysoprase proves that authenticity can be hidden in the smallest details. The next gemstone introduces a different kind of value, where scientific rarity is undeniable. Yet public recognition still hasn't fully caught up. Number 13. Demantoid garnet. There's a moment when experienced collectors stop asking, "How green is it?" Instead, they begin asking, "How does it handle light?" That single shift in thinking explains why Demantoid garnet occupies such a respected place in the gem world. Even before its name became widely known, Demantoid earned admiration for one remarkable characteristic: its fire. Thanks to an exceptionally high dispersion, this gemstone breaks white light into flashes of rainbow colors more intensely than many gems several times its price. Combined with its rich green body color, the result is a brilliance that feels almost alive with every movement. Ironically, that optical performance has created a common buying mistake. Some shoppers become so focused on finding the deepest green that they overlook the very quality that makes Demantoid famous. Stones with overly dark color can lose the lively flashes that justify their premium, while slightly lighter specimens often deliver a far more spectacular visual experience. Its price reflects this delicate balance. Fine Demantoid is genuinely scarce, particularly in larger sizes, but collectors are paying for the rare combination of brightness, fire, and pleasing color, not for darkness alone. One outstanding 1-carat stone can easily surpass a much larger gem that appears dull. Before purchasing, gently rock the gemstone under a single point of white light. If flashes of red, yellow, and blue dance across the surface instead of remaining hidden, the stone is revealing the characteristic that made Demantoid legendary. Demantoid reminds buyers that true value is often measured by performance rather than size or saturation. The next gemstone demonstrates that sometimes the rarest feature isn't brilliance at all, but a microscopic signature left behind by nature itself. Number 12. Hiddenite. A premium price can sometimes be triggered by a single word printed on a certificate. In the case of Hiddenite, that word is origin, and understanding why can prevent one of the most common mistakes collectors make. At first glance, Hiddenite resembles an exceptionally elegant variety of green spodumene. Fine specimens display a crisp, yellowish green to vivid emerald green color with impressive transparency and long, beautifully formed crystals. When expertly cut, the gem has a clean brilliance that immediately suggests rarity. The complication is that Hiddenite is not always used consistently. Some sellers apply the name to almost any green spodumene, while many gemologists reserve it for naturally colored material from specific historic deposits in North Carolina, or for stones whose green color formed naturally rather than through irradiation. Those distinctions can dramatically influence value. This is why two gems that appear almost identical may sell for vastly different prices. Buyers are not paying solely for color or clarity. They may also be paying for documented provenance and confidence in how the color was created. Without reliable documentation, that premium can become difficult to justify. Before agreeing to a higher price, ask what exactly the seller means by Hiddenite. Does the name describe the gemstone's mineral species, its geographic origin, or the natural cause of its color? A precise answer should accompany any significant premium. Hiddenite demonstrates that terminology itself can become part of a gemstone's value. The next entry reveals a different lesson entirely, where the smallest natural imperfections can increase desirability instead of reducing it. Number 11. Green tourmaline. Two gemstones can share the same color, the same size, and even the same price. Yet one quietly becomes a lifelong favorite, while the other slowly loses its appeal. The difference often comes down to a quality many buyers never think to evaluate: life. Green tourmaline, also known as verdolite, is admired for its remarkable range of greens, from fresh bamboo and olive to deep forest tones. Unlike gemstones, whose color appears uniform, tourmaline often displays subtle shifts as light moves through the crystal. That natural complexity gives fine specimens a sense of depth that photographs rarely capture. The mistake begins when buyers judge the stone only from directly above. Tourmaline is strongly pleochroic, meaning it can display different colors depending on the viewing direction. A gemstone that looks vibrant face up may appear noticeably darker or less attractive when viewed from another angle. Skilled cutters work carefully to minimize this effect, but poor cutting can leave even high-quality, rough-looking lifeless. This optical challenge plays a major role in pricing. Expert cutting sacrifices more rough material to achieve a brighter, more balanced appearance, making well-cut stones genuinely more valuable than heavier stones with stronger color zoning or excessive darkness. Before making a purchase, slowly tilt the gemstone through several angles instead of admiring only the face-up view. A truly fine verdolite should remain lively as it moves, rather than fading into dark, uneven patches. Green tourmaline teaches that exceptional cutting can be just as valuable as exceptional rough. The next gemstone reveals why, in some cases, a tiny feature created deep underground can become the most sought-after characteristic of all. Number 10. Green sapphire. Discounts have a way of changing how people think. Place an emerald beside a green sapphire with similar color, then reduce the sapphire's price by 30%. Many buyers immediately assume they've found the better deal. That conclusion is often reached far too quickly. Green sapphire belongs to the corundum family, making it one of the most durable gemstones suitable for everyday wear. Fine examples combine excellent hardness, strong brilliance, and subtle green tones that range from silvery mint to rich olive. Unlike emerald, they rarely depend on visible inclusions to define their identity, giving many stones a remarkably clean appearance. The real challenge is understanding why the price is lower. Green sapphire is generally less expensive than its blue counterpart, not because it is inferior, but because consumer demand has historically favored blue. Color preference, not geological quality, is responsible for much of the price difference. That creates an unusual market advantage. Buyers who judge gemstones by performance instead of popularity can often acquire exceptional durability and natural beauty without paying the premium attached to more fashionable colors. In other words, market perception sometimes discounts a gemstone more than nature ever did. Before purchasing, compare the gemstone against other sapphires rather than against emeralds. Evaluate the richness of the green, the brightness under natural light, and whether the color remains attractive indoors as well as outdoors. Those qualities will influence long-term satisfaction far more than a percentage discount. Green sapphire proves that popularity and value are rarely the same thing. The next gemstone climbs even higher by demonstrating how a single trace element can transform an already beautiful crystal into one of the most coveted greens on Earth. Number 9. Tsavorite garnet. Luxury often teaches buyers to expect compromises. A vivid green gemstone may come with obvious inclusions. A flawless stone may lack color. A large crystal may sacrifice brilliance. Tsavorite garnet became famous because, on rare occasions, it seems to ignore those rules. Discovered in East Africa during the late 20th century, Tsavorite is admired for an exceptionally pure green created by traces of vanadium and chromium. Unlike emerald, it is typically untreated and frequently exhibits outstanding transparency. When light enters a fine specimen, the result is a crisp, energetic brilliance that immediately separates it from many other green gemstones. That reputation has produced a subtle buying trap. Some shoppers believe every Tsavorite deserves a premium simply because it is untreated. Treatment status, however, is only one factor. Weak color, poor cutting, or a windowed center can dramatically reduce beauty, regardless of how natural the gemstone may be. Its pricing reflects a rare intersection of geology and craftsmanship. Fine rough is limited, especially in larger sizes, and cutters often sacrifice significant weight to preserve the richest color and maximize brilliance. As a result, two Tsavorites with identical carat weights can differ enormously in value depending on how efficiently they return light. Before deciding, hold the gemstone at arm's length for a few seconds instead of examining it only under magnification. If the green remains vivid and the stone continues to draw the eye from a normal viewing distance, its quality is doing exactly what premium gemstones should do. Tsavorite demonstrates that natural origin alone never guarantees exceptional value. The next gemstone reveals how one legendary green earned its reputation not through perfection, but through imperfections that tell the story of its formation. Number 8. Jadeite jade. No gemstone has persuaded more buyers to pay extraordinary prices for qualities they cannot immediately see than jadeite. Two polished cabochons may appear almost identical across a jewelry counter, yet one could be worth hundreds of dollars while the other commands a price comparable to a luxury home. Its appeal goes far beyond color. Fine jadeite possesses a silky, almost liquid translucency that collectors describe as water. Light doesn't simply reflect from the surface. It seems to travel through the stone before returning with a soft inner glow. Combined with a rich, evenly distributed green, that effect has made top-quality jadeite one of the world's most valuable gemstones. The greatest risk, however, has little to do with appearance. Jadeite undergoes more sophisticated enhancement than almost any other gemstone. Bleaching can remove unwanted impurities, while polymer impregnation restores transparency. The finished gem may look beautiful, but those treatments can significantly reduce long-term value compared with untreated material. This explains why laboratory reports play such a decisive role in jadeite pricing. Buyers are paying not only for beauty, but also for confidence that the gemstone remains in its natural condition. A certified untreated stone may cost dramatically more because genuine untreated material of exceptional quality is genuinely scarce. Before considering a major purchase, ask for independent laboratory documentation before discussing price. In the jadeite market, verification often carries more financial weight than visual inspection alone. Jadeite proves that trust can become one of the most expensive components of any gemstone. The next entry climbs even higher, where a remarkable optical phenomenon transforms an already rare crystal into something collectors pursue for an entirely different reason. Number 7. Cat's eye tourmaline. Some gemstones reveal everything the moment light touches them. Others refuse to show their greatest secret until they are moved. Cat's eye tourmaline belongs firmly in the second category, rewarding patience instead of first impressions. Unlike ordinary faceted gemstones, this variety owes its reputation to thousands of microscopic parallel inclusions hidden inside the crystal. When the stone is cut into a smooth cabochon and illuminated from the right direction, those tiny structures concentrate light into a sharp, luminous band that glides across the surface like the narrow pupil of a cat. That moving line, known as chatoyancy, is what collectors are truly buying. The mistake many newcomers make is assuming that any visible eye deserves a premium. In reality, the quality of that optical effect matters far more than its mere presence. A blurred, broken, or off-center line dramatically reduces desirability, even if the gemstone itself has attractive color. This explains why expert cutting is indispensable. The cutter must orient the cabochon with extraordinary precision so the microscopic inclusions align perfectly with the dome. A slight error can weaken the phenomenon and erase much of the stone's value, despite the rough material remaining exactly the same. Before considering the price, slowly rotate the gemstone beneath a single light source. A superior specimen displays one crisp, continuous line that moves smoothly from edge to edge without splitting or fading. That performance is what separates exceptional examples from ordinary ones. Cat's eye tourmaline demonstrates that a gemstone can be valuable not because of what it contains, but because of how it interacts with light. The next entry rises even further, where a phenomenon lasting only fractions of a second has captivated collectors for generations. Number 6. Color change garnet. Imagine paying a premium for a gemstone that looks perfectly ordinary inside a jewelry store. Then, a few steps later, under a different light source, it becomes an entirely different gem. That surprise is exactly what makes color change garnet one of the most fascinating and most misunderstood green gemstones on the market. Under daylight, the finest specimens display elegant green, grayish-green, or bluish-green tones. Move them beneath warm, incandescent lighting, and those same crystals can transform into shades of raspberry, purplish, red, or deep wine. This dramatic shift isn't an illusion. It results from the gemstone selectively absorbing different wavelengths of light, allowing entirely different colors to dominate under different illumination. The buying mistake is surprisingly common. Many shoppers judge the stone under only one lighting condition. A gem that appears extraordinary outdoors may show only a weak transformation indoors, while another with a less impressive daytime color may deliver a spectacular color change that collectors value far more. That explains why the strength of the color change often influences price more than the starting color itself. Gems with vivid transitions are genuinely scarce because the precise chemical composition required for this optical behavior is uncommon in nature. Before making a decision, ask to examine the gemstone under both daylight equivalent and warm indoor lighting. If the transformation is immediate, unmistakable, and consistent, the premium is being supported by one of nature's rarest optical performances, not by marketing alone. Color change. Garnet proves that a gemstone's greatest value may only appear when the environment changes. The next entry moves even closer to the top of the ranking, where one legendary green owes its reputation to a beauty that seems to glow from within long before light ever begins to move. Number 5. Trapiche emerald. Collectors sometimes reject a gemstone for the very reason museums celebrate it. A network of dark lines crossing the center would normally be considered a serious flaw. In a trapiche emerald, those same lines can transform an ordinary crystal into one of the most fascinating emeralds ever discovered. Unlike traditional emeralds prized for transparency, trapiche emeralds form under extraordinary geological conditions where carbon-rich impurities become trapped as the crystal grows outward in 6 distinct sectors. The result is a naturally occurring 6-rayed pattern that resembles the spokes of an ancient mill wheel. No cutter creates it, no treatment enhances it. The design was written into the crystal millions of years before humans ever uncovered it. This uniqueness creates one of the easiest mistakes to make. Buyers accustomed to judging emeralds by clarity often dismiss Trapiche specimens because they contain visible inclusions and opaque areas. Yet those imperfections are exactly what authenticate the phenomenon. Without the pattern, it is simply another emerald. That is why value depends less on transparency than on the symmetry, completeness, and sharpness of the six rays. A perfectly centered pattern with strong contrast can command a remarkable premium, even when the surrounding emerald would be considered only average by conventional grading standards. Before considering the color or clarity, examine the geometry. Are all six rays complete? Do they meet naturally at the center? Is the pattern balanced from every direction? In Trapiche emeralds, structure often matters more than brilliance. Trapiche emerald proves that nature sometimes rewards what traditional grading would reject. The next gemstone climbs even higher, where value is no longer defined by an extraordinary pattern, but by a green so exceptional that it has become the benchmark for every gemstone that followed. Number 4. Chrome tourmaline. A gemstone can remain overlooked for decades, not because it lacks beauty, but because it arrived in the shadow of a more famous rival. Chrome tourmaline has spent much of its history being compared to emerald. Ironically, that comparison often prevents buyers from recognizing its true value. Its remarkable green comes from chromium, and in some cases, vanadium, the same trace elements responsible for the color of many exceptional emeralds. The result is a vivid, intensely saturated green that appears almost electric under natural daylight. Unlike many green gemstones, fine chrome tourmaline also offers impressive brilliance and typically requires no clarity enhancement, allowing its color to speak for itself. The trap is assuming that every intensely green tourmaline is chrome tourmaline. Many sellers loosely apply the name to dark green tourmalines that contain little or no chromium. Visually, they may seem similar at first glance, but their rarity, collector interest, and market value are not the same. This distinction explains why certified chrome tourmaline consistently commands stronger prices. The premium reflects verified chemistry, limited production, primarily from Tanzania, and a far smaller supply than ordinary green tourmaline. Buyers are paying for documented identity as much as appearance. Before accepting the label, ask whether the stone has been identified through gemological testing or whether chrome is simply a trade description. A laboratory report or reputable gemological documentation can immediately separate a genuinely scarce gemstone from a convincing look-alike. Chrome tourmaline demonstrates that names only matter when they can be proven. The next gemstone rises even higher, where one legendary green has become so influential that its finest examples redefine how rarity itself is measured. Number 3. Colombian emerald. The biggest mistake in the emerald market isn't buying the wrong stone, it's paying for a famous name without understanding what made that name famous in the first place. Few words influence gemstone prices more than Colombian. For centuries, Colombia has produced emeralds whose color has become the global benchmark, a rich, vibrant green with exceptional saturation balanced by remarkable transparency. Formed within rare hydrothermal veins, unlike the host rocks of most emerald deposits, these crystals developed under geological conditions found in very few places on Earth. Their beauty-shaped royal collections inspired international trade and established the standard against which nearly every other emerald is judged. That prestige, however, creates a costly misunderstanding. Origin alone does not guarantee extraordinary quality. A poorly colored Colombian emerald may be worth far less than an exceptional emerald from Zambia. Collectors don't pay a premium simply because a stone came from Colombia. They pay for the rare combination of origin, color, transparency, crystal quality, and documentation. This explains why laboratory origin reports can dramatically affect value. Determining geographic origin requires advanced gemological analysis, and when a top-quality emerald is confirmed as Colombian, its market value can increase substantially because the finest material remains exceptionally scarce. Before allowing the word Colombian to influence your decision, evaluate the gemstone as though its origin were unknown. If its beauty alone justifies admiration, then the documented origin becomes an added advantage, not the primary reason to buy. Colombian emerald teaches one final lesson before the top two. Prestige should confirm quality, never replace it. The next gemstone earns its position not through history alone, but through a combination of rarity and scientific uniqueness that exists in only a handful of places on Earth. Number 2, Uvarovite garnet. The rarest mistake in gemstone buying isn't overpaying for a large stone. It's overlooking a tiny crystal because it doesn't fit the picture most people have of what a valuable gemstone should look like. Uvarovite is unlike almost every other green gemstone in this ranking. Instead of producing large transparent crystals suitable for traditional jewelry, it usually forms as countless microscopic emerald green crystals carpeting the surface of dark rock. Under light, those natural crystal faces create a glittering landscape that resembles a miniature emerald forest frozen in stone. That unusual growth habit has shaped its entire market. Buyers unfamiliar with Uvarovite often dismiss specimens because they cannot be cut into large faceted gems. In reality, the absence of large crystals isn't a flaw. It is one of the mineral's defining characteristics. Fine, juicy specimens are prized precisely because they preserve the crystal formation exactly as nature created it. This is why collectors evaluate Uvarovite differently from almost every gemstone discussed so far. Instead of searching for carat weight or perfect clarity, they look for dense crystal coverage, vivid chromium-rich color, strong natural luster, and an undamaged crystal surface. A small specimen covered with brilliant, evenly distributed crystals can be considerably more desirable than a much larger piece with sparse or dull growth. Before comparing prices, ask a simple question. Was this mineral ever meant to become a faceted gemstone? If the answer is no, judging it by the standards of emerald or sapphire immediately leads to the wrong conclusion. Uvarovite reminds us that nature doesn't always create beauty in forms designed for jewelry. Sometimes the most valuable specimens are those left exactly as the earth formed them. Only one green gemstone remains, a crystal whose color, rarity, and influence have defined luxury for centuries, earning its place as the undisputed king of green gemstones. Number 1. Kornerupine. The world's greatest gemstones are not always the ones displayed behind the brightest lights or advertised by the largest jewelry houses. Sometimes the true masterpiece is the stone that even experienced collectors spend years searching for, and kornerupine is one of those extraordinary exceptions. Discovered only in a handful of geological environments, kornerupine owes its remarkable green to traces of chromium locked within its crystal structure. The finest specimens display an intensely saturated forest green color with exceptional transparency and a vivid brilliance that rivals many of the world's most celebrated green gemstones. Yet unlike those famous names, kornerupine remains almost invisible to the mainstream market. That lack of recognition creates a fascinating contradiction. Its rarity is genuine, but rarity alone has never determined value. Because production is extremely limited and few cutters ever handle top-quality rough, exceptional stones rarely appear on the market. When they do, prices are driven not by advertising or fashion, but by knowledgeable collectors who understand exactly how uncommon they are. This leads to the final lesson of the entire ranking. Never judge a gemstone by how often you hear its name. Instead, judge it by 3 enduring qualities: geological rarity, measurable beauty, and long-term collector demand. Kornerupine excels in all 3, making it one of the few green gemstones whose scarcity is matched by its intrinsic quality. Before making any significant purchase, ask yourself one question. If this gemstone had no famous name attached to it, would its beauty and rarity still justify the price? Kornerupine answers that question with remarkable confidence. After exploring 25 remarkable green gemstones, one principle stands above every ranking. The smartest collectors never chase popularity, they chase knowledge. Trends come and go, markets rise and fall, but a gemstone chosen through understanding will always hold more value than one purchased for its reputation alone. From humble river stones to some of the rarest treasures ever discovered, Every green gemstone in this ranking tells a different story about how our planet creates beauty, rarity, and value. The biggest lesson isn't which gemstone ranked number one. It's that the smartest collectors don't buy names, they buy knowledge. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating stories about the world's rarest gemstones, extraordinary minerals, and natural wonders. And before you go, leave a comment below. Which green gemstone surprised you the most? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next documentary.